Hey, welcome back. Come have a seat at the table and let's chat about metaphysics. I am so excited for this episode for you all, everyone listening, because this episode is a very special episode dedicated to Gym and Jam Festival. If you follow me on social media, you have heard that my workshop got accepted to Gym and Jam, which has been on my bucket list of festivals to teach at since I started teaching back in 2017 and actually being in the public eye teaching with this. This is going to be the first festival that I've taught at that my book is about to come out. My deck has already been out and has just gotten so much good feedback. And this is going to be the first workshop of the year. So I'm very, very excited about it. And we are doing Saturday and Sunday at the same time, a nice little metaphysical meditation that we're all going to get together for. And I'm excited for that. But before we get there, let's talk about what Gym and Jam is, and I've got a very special interview for you with one of the amazing musicians on the lineup. If you've already read the show notes, you know who it is, and if you're just jumping in and listening, today I am talking to Vincent Antone, who is an incredible musician from Austin, Texas, and we will get into more of that later, but first, let's talk about Gym and Jam. Now, Gym and Jam is this annual festival that is held every year during the world-renowned Tucson Gem and Mineral Fossil Showcase, making this special weekend a perfect pairing of music and art for gym enthusiasts and festival goers of all kinds. Featuring both prominent internationally and nationally touring names in the jam and electronic music scenes, music remains the main attraction for many, yet the festival also features artists of all mediums, including visual performers, live artists, arts and crafts, along with workshops and lectures, food vendors, and high-end art galleries. If you like art and you like music and you like crystals and metaphysical, you're gonna want to be at Gym and Jam. It is such an intentionally curated space that you can already tell how much work has been put into it. Now, if you've ever been to Tucson, which I'm excited because I have never been to Tucson, and I'm excited to go and see, what the Pima County Fairgrounds are like. I tend to have good experiences at fairgrounds with music and, workshops. Now, let's talk about Vincent. So, if you are unfamiliar, first, if you've listened to any of the previous podcasts in the past year, or you have been following the MCOD playlist, which is the Metaphysical Cannabis Oracle Deck playlist, you have heard Vincent Antone through me. If you're familiar with him, not through me, I applaud you because I found this incredible artist at this festival that we had attended a couple years ago, and we wound up just kind of moseying over to his set, not knowing what was coming up, and it was incredible, and it forever changed us, and he is literally my fiance's #1 most listened to artist on Spotify for the 2023 Wrapped. And I'm so excited for you all to hear this interview with him. It is just amazing. But first, let me tell you a little bit about Vincent and when he's going to play at Gym and Jam, so that if you haven't got your tickets to Gym and Jam yet, you're going to go ahead and buy them. You're going to go ahead and get it locked in and get everything settled. If you want it to happen, it'll happen. Just watch it work out for you. So Vincent is an American producer and recording artist based in Austin, Texas. He is multi-instrumental, playing guitar for over 20 years, drums for 15, and piano and bass for 10. He has produced music for over 8 years now and has found a passion for combining elements of dance music with all sorts of genres. His style runs from future funk, hip-hop, future bass, house, trap, and everything in between. His music is boundless. You can expect the unexpected because it is incredible. And because of this, there really is something for everyone. In the live setting, Vince plays guitar and keys while he is joined by his powerhouse drummer, who is Jose Gutierrez. Together, these two put on an electrifying show that literally you cannot be moving. You cannot not be moving when you hear Vincent. Everyone is dancing. No stranger to the festival circuit and clubs, Vincent has performed at many notable events in his music career. These include Austin City Limits, Kaboo, San Diego and Dallas, Wakarusa, Euphoria Fest, Waterloo Fest, Breakaway Fest, Utopia Fest, Art Outside, and many, many others. He has opened for artists such as Pretty Lights, Steve Aoki, Grammatic, RJD2, Goldfish, Cherub, Hero Bust, Opio, The Nappy Roots, Max Frost, X-Mag, and many more. So without further ado, here is my interview with the one and only Vincent Antone. Enjoy! First, how are you?
I'm good. How you been doing?
I've been doing good. Have you been busy lately?
Yeah, life's moving quick, but you gotta take a second every now and again to actually recognize what's going on with you.
Yeah, I feel like you're doing a lot. A lot has come up in the past, God, 3 months.
Yeah, it's really exciting. It's one of those things where it's like, if I don't stop and actually ask myself how I'm doing, 6 months will go by and I'll be like, what the fuck was all that?
Yeah. So do you do anything like journal or meditate or anything like that to kind of?
Yeah, I was keeping a journal for a while. I kind of fell off from it. I'm trying to get better about finding a balance in all of this, particularly between what it means to maintain a life at home versus the life on the road and all that, and not letting the career just be this all-encompassing thing that defines my life all the time. And it totally is right now, and that's tough. So
I mean, but the sheer awareness of that it seems like a lot of people don't really have that, especially going into the music business. It's like that's almost what they want, is it to encompass their whole life.
right. I mean, in a weird way, it's like I I also love it, and the awareness is good. It's like, but can you walk out what it means to change that if you have to? And that's the tough part.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you're in Central Time. Are you in the Midwest somewhere?
Austin, Texas.
Oh, sweet. Okay, nice. I
Yeah,
feel like I remember you saying that the last time that we saw you. And
yeah,
that's
yeah.
where, because you flew back on either your Mother's Day or Easter, or what was it? It was
Oh yeah, I guess that was in April, so it probably was Easter. I got a big family, and it was very important to my mother that I be home. So I
that's right. I remember
bounced out of there at 5 a.m. before I could say bye to y'all.
I remember that. Well, that's
Yeah,
so great.
thank you so much
Um,
for letting me do that. By the way,
oh
I
my God. Our pleasure.
I get by with the help of my friends. So
I mean, for real, I really am one of those people that believes you're at the right place at the right time for the things that you can actually handle to bring in at that time. I very much believe you're never given more than you can handle, even when things feel like they're super overwhelming.
yeah,
So when we were, how we found you and just happened to be at that stage at that time and that
yeah.
day. And I mean, I'm still obsessed with your music.
Thank you.
Brandon, literally, you were his number one Spotify artist this year. And
That's amazing.
that's so cool.
Yeah, I love that. It's
Have you seen a lot of have you, what's the past year kind of been like? You said you're trying to make sure that you don't get, that you've got this awareness, but that it's really hard. Has it just been it feels like you're getting, you are getting more than you can handle? Or does it feel like you've got this?
it's this weird in between of feeling overwhelmed and yet being hungry for more.
Oh
You know what I mean? Because
yeah.
and I don't know how much of that comes from this. I was talking about it with a friend last night, this thing I have inside of me where this has kind of been my goal all my life. And so there's a piece of this that's some sort of weird validating thing. for me personally, and like it's
Yeah.
not necessarily always the most healthy thing, because like
Right.
my life, like I should feel okay with or without it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And
Right.
so as things like pick up, it's like, I mean, you're working hard and it's a goal. And whether my career was this or I was selling insurance or whatever, like, you want to do good at whatever you're doing. So it's like, it's this weird duality of like feeling overwhelmed, but at the same time, when when that workload ever, if it ever slows down, you don't feel like it's happening, as potently as it once was. So you're always like trying to get more of it. And then like, the thing that the team grows and things get streamlined. And so like the workload becomes more defined and whatnot, but like when's enough,
Yeah.
like,
Oh, right. Because it keeps coming in, and you're like, just when you think you're like, you've set that goal, you've got that dream, you're like, all right, well, I know I want this for a reason. I know I can like have this. And then when it starts to come, you're like, there's more. And
yeah,
there always is. It's like
they're
just
always,
when you
yeah.
thought you've reached the goal that you had, something comes in out of nowhere and you're like, wow, I didn't expect that.
Yeah, it's a very odd thing. I spend like a ton of time thinking about all this stuff too, and it kind of goes back to what I was saying before about like having to really like pause and ask yourself like, how do I feel about all this, or like what's my actual intention here with
Oh,
some of this stuff, you know?
yes.
And if you're not
Yes.
asking those questions, like you just get caught up in the current sometimes, and then you end up like way over here, and you're like, I don't even know if I feel right about what's happening right now, you know?
Right. Right. I think what you just said about the intention is like, I really believe that that's probably one of the most powerful things, that no matter what happens or where you're guided, if you have like a pure intention, it's kind of like you're protected in some way, or you're guided, or you're just like
Yeah.
more aware of these things. So like when you started making music, and I mean, because something as like a theater kid and a choir singer my entire life, I was like, oh
Nice.
my god, he understands the music, like the count. I was like, if someone can make my heart skip in a 16 count, like they understand music. And I listen to a lot of music, and I don't know a lot of artists that I feel like understand music the way that you do. So was that like when you started, like, where's little Vincent? Was little Vincent like out here creating music and beats? Like where does it
Um,
come from?
yeah, I picked up a guitar when I was like 6. So like probably some of my earliest memories was watching my dad play like in his office when I'm like 2 or 3 or something.
Wow, that's cool.
So I picked it up then and was just always fascinated by it. And like it's funny that I ended up in an electronic realm, because like that's not what I
Envisioned,
necessarily aspired to be, or
right?
like it wasn't really a thing either when I was like younger, you know what I'm
No.
saying? And so I like picked up more instruments and started playing drums and piano and all this different stuff. And I got really into like jam bands when I was in high school, started smoking weed and
As
getting
we do.
fish and string cheese and all that shit. And I had older brothers that were into that. And so like we went to those festivals. I went to Bonnaroo when I was like 17, and that's
Oh
like right.
hell yeah. I'm from Tennessee, so that was
Oh,
my
really?
backyard. Yeah. So
Nice.
my older brothers were like that too.
But there was just such a freedom in that music,
Yeah.
especially kind of improvisational stuff. And so that sense of wonder and an ability and chemistry to make something in the moment that only exists for that moment, you know, was very appealing to me. And so I grew up doing that, and then went to college and formed a band or two. Dropped out of college the first time because I had like I was struggling with drug addictions and whatnot, and came back home and like joined another band, and that band started doing really well. Um, and it was like a jam band type thing, and then that disbanded for various reasons. Ended up in another project that started doing pretty well. That fell apart because I was still messed up, and so then when I kind of got my shit together, I was like, all right, I'm gonna give this like one more real stab, because I'm getting older, and like either it's gonna work out or it's not. And I want to give it
Yeah.
like the proper due, and that's probably around 2000. I'm backtracking now, but back in 2010 is when I kind of became aware of the new wave of electronic music that was kind of popping up, and it had a lot of soul and funk going on in it,
Yeah.
and that appealed to my tastes and whatnot. And so I just got fascinated with producing, and I was like, oh, I can play like 5 or 6 instruments, but I can't do it all at once.
Right.
And now I can, with production and whatnot. So, and then, yeah, it just kind of started going from there. I mean, that's the Cliff Notes version of it, but,
No, I love that. So when you were young and you got that like feeling of what it feels like to like make music, is that when that dream kind of came in? Like, I want to make music and like bring other people to feel like the
yeah,
relief or the joy or the excitement that I feel. Cause I swear I can turn on any one of your songs and I'll put them in my show notes and like link you and everything. Like anytime I feel like, you know, the regular shit, the depression creeping in, the anxiety that loves to come in at the beginning of the year and every week. I'm
yeah,
just like, I'm just gonna like turn something on that's Vincent, and I know I'm gonna like instantly like raise my vibration. It's like those,
I love
those
hearing that.
YouTube sounds that you can listen to. I've like steered towards, I'm like, all right, I'll have this on in the background, but then I'll have Vincent playing from my phone.
I love that. That's very sweet. Yeah, the I think the dream becomes more defined as you get older and more clear. I mean, when I was a kid, I think the idea of like rock and roll and blowing up and like stuff like that is um less conducive to what it actually is now, which is like it's just a way for me to communicate. And like I'm pretty introverted. Like I can talk with one person for a long time, but like you get me in a room with a bunch of people, I'm like,
Yeah. Same.
Um, and I often feel kind of misunderstood, as cliche as that sounds, but like the music is
No.
a very clear way for me to output whatever it is that's going on with me. And people can take it or leave it, you know what I mean? Like
I love that. Yeah.
it becomes something that's interesting because like once it becomes how you're paying, the mortgage or whatever, it's like you do feel a sense of obligation to kind of provide what your fans are looking for after a certain amount of time.
Mm-hmm.
But also at the same time, you're like, I need to make something that I enjoy first because I'm the one that has to play it every night for the next 5 years or whatever.
Yeah. And when you come from that intention of, I'm going to make something that I love, it's received so much better. And it's like, wow, okay, I created something from myself, from like pure intention of just being like, I have to get this out of me to
Yeah.
get through whatever it is that I'm going through right now. That's that thing that it's like that deep human connection that happens through music that like it heals people, it helps people. So like on your healing journey that you've had for these past 6 7 years, you probably, I mean, you honestly have no idea how many people you've also helped.
Yeah, it's so beautiful, man.
Right, like,
I'm blown away by it on the daily, the messages that get going
yeah,
off of people. It's like I can't even wrap my head around it sometimes because it's like because you like run into people out on tour and stuff and they'll tell you that and you're like, oh my God, like you're actually out
yeah,
here like, you know, listening to this and like it's doing something for you. And like this is mostly me in a dark room by myself, like
yeah,
making weird beats at night, you know what I mean? And so when it like spreads out there like that, it's a crazy thing. I
it's
love
beautiful. Like you
yeah.
said, it's so beautiful. Have you ever been to Jim and Jam before? Have you ever played there?
Yeah, so I have a funny story about Jim and Jam actually. We played there in 2022, so coming up on 2 years ago. And it was at a time where um, the pandemic had kind of just worn off. Uh I had gone on my first like tour as an opener, but it was just me. I didn't have my drummer with me, so I'd done a run of like 10 shows with some homies and whatnot. That was a cool experience. But Jam and Jam 2022 was like gonna be basically our first like bigger festival.
Mm-hmm.
And so we got there and we had and this is like no disrespect to Jam and Jam at all. There was just some confusion about I had my drummer and they didn't realize I had my drummer and they had me on like a
Oh
DJ
yeah.
stage. which is all good. I ended up doing a DJ set. My drummer was there, just kind of getting down in the back. And but anyway, they did something really cool, and they were like, oh, well, there was a scheduling issue the last day or the next day, and we got like a better time slot on like a bigger stage, and we'll give you a second set if you want to do it. And I was like, absolutely.
Oh my
So
God.
yeah, so we got to do that. My drummer got to play with me, and that set like really popped off, and like, a couple thousand people showed up, and it was just a lot of things meeting at the right time. And then after that, like, it just kind of put us on the map.
Yeah.
From that set alone, I think we booked like 3 more festivals. We started touring immediately afterwards. So like, I can point to Gem and Jam and be like, that was like a pivotal moment for the trajectory of everything,
Just wow.
Yeah. So
Just
we're
wow.
really excited to come back and, do it again.
Oh my God. I mean, that's incredible. That's so cool. And I think it says a lot about the intention of Jim and Jam. It's like music festivals and production are so crazy and,
Oh, absolutely.
things get lost in the cracks, but it's how you handle it and how you deal with it that literally can like change somebody's life. Like,
Oh yeah, it was very cool of them, and it was like very serendipitous. And if it didn't happen that way, like things might be different right now,
yeah,
So
maybe it's the crystals and the gym show and all that,
maybe so.
like the influx of all that energy being like, you know what? Just magic
There
happens.
there are forces at work that I don't understand that are contributing to a lot of things that happen in my life and the world around me.
Yeah, I hear that. I hear that.
I try not to, they're hard to understand. I try not to lose my mind trying to understand them, but
Yeah.
you can feel it when it's happening.
Yeah, I go down a rabbit hole at least once or twice a week of just like esoteric ancient shit that I'm like, what? What?
Yeah, I know. It's like, I think a lot of that's like just innate to the human experience, trying to
Yeah, like
understand.
we are so eager to learn and to
Yeah,
understand and especially from our ancestors because it's still in our body and in our blood and in our like water in our body. So is there anybody in your family that you know of like ancestor wise that was also creating music?
yeah. So on my dad's adopted, so that family side, as far as the blood goes, is kind of a mystery to me, which I've grown to like, actually.
I
Um,
Relatable. Same.
yeah,
Like
I don't
I'm
feel like secretly.
adopted, don't know half my family.
Really?
Just like that's how I feel like it's more common now than it really was like 20, I guess, 20 or so years ago, but
Yeah.
same.
Yeah, and I just don't feel like tied down to any sort of
Yeah.
with that. And love makes a family anyway. Um,
100%. People who aren't my family raised me. People who weren't my blood raised me
right,
and inspired my music choices and they're the ones that are closer to me than my blood. When you've got
yeah,
multiple older brothers fighting that were born in different decades of what music you should listen to, like no, my decade's better. No, my decade's better.
right.
you
Yeah,
know, it was a big part. Music's always been a big part of my journey too, especially being adopted. It's like you just kind of view things through a different lens than people who don't have that experience or if you come from a blended family like that, it's
yeah,
just different.
yeah. It can be a positive perspective to have.
I
I think it can be tough initially, but when you like, step back and go through your life and take a look at it, you kind of can see things for what they are.
Yeah,
Um,
you're much more compassionate. I feel like the people that I
yeah,
know that are adopted and from blended families are a lot less judgmental
yeah,
and just they do tend to be more introverted because, I like to say I'm an extroverted introvert. Like
right,
I'll be out, but then like I want 3 days just to
right,
be
yeah,
home
yeah.
in
So on
my
my
in my dark studio, just creating shit.
Oh
Like,
yeah, that's me right now. I mean, there's like a Texas freeze going on right now. It's been like 20 degrees for a week or whatever. And I was like, my little brother is out on tour with Dirtwire right now, doing like their lasers and whatnot. And
yeah,
so I was like, I'm locking down for this next week and just creating my shit.
100%. Ooh, well, I'm excited to see what comes out of it.
Yeah.
And I'll be seeing you in like 3 weeks, basically.
God, it's coming up so quick. Yeah, it's crazy. The more stuff that the schedule fills up, the quicker it all like shows up, and you're like, oh shit, that's right around the corner. But
Yeah.
yeah, to answer your other question, on my mother's side, Johnny Cash is my fourth cousin.
Are you fucking serious?
Yeah, it's crazy. I
I used
think
to
we
have
share.
a dog named Cash. Oh, bulldog.
Really? Yeah, nice.
Yeah, my
You
favorite
share a
bulldog.
great grandparent or something. Yeah.
Wow. Ooh, that's such a cool fucking fact.
Yeah, pretty neat. Um, technically, I'll have to look again. It might be his wife June, but it would
Yeah,
be,
June
but it,
Carter.
yeah, which arguably her family was almost bigger than him, but
Yeah,
it would be like through their kids then at that point. But yeah,
but that's
that's
so
that's somewhere in the
cool.
bloodline. Yeah, yeah,
Wow. I mean, who
yep,
knows? That's wow. That's super, super fucking cool.
yeah. I need to kind of dig up a little bit more on that side of things and figure out what's going on there. But yeah, it's somewhere in there.
Dude, if you put some Johnny Cash shit together, like if that comes out of you because of this
Yeah,
conversation, I'm
it's
literally
funny.
gonna
Like
like
the stuff that usually kind of comes together musically for me. Like I can set out to make something. Um, I'm kind of making less stuff with samples these days. Not like necessarily by design. It's just how it's going right now.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
it's just the flow.
yeah, and I always come back to it sooner or later. But um, a lot of that stuff kind of has to find me in a sense. Like I have to hear something that pricks my ear, and then I go, okay, like if I hear something and I want to run to my computer and like do something with it, that's the
Mhm.
sign that there's something there.
Yeah,
I also spend a lot of
totally.
time like digging around for shit, trying to force something to happen that just isn't working, you know?
Right, right.
It
That's
sucks when you have deadlines and stuff and you have to like there's a schedule to maintain and
get
you're like
something out. Yeah.
creativity has, inspiration has no schedule, but sometimes you have to fucking make it happen,
Gotta write it down. Yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes I hear you on that. As a creative mind, it's like my to-do list is becoming more of a priority because that's the only way I can stay organized.
Yeah.
Otherwise, my creativity.
Ironically, it's self-imposed too, right? Like these deadlines I put on myself are like I
Right.
have no boss that's telling me like this needs to happen by then. I'm just like, if I want things to go well, like this has to happen by this
It
time.
better be on Thursday. And then I'm like,
Yeah.
it's fucking Thursday and I don't feel like doing it.
But you have to do that to yourself.
Yeah.
It's a good practice.
Yeah.
It's just tricky.
It's so tricky. I mean, you're totally spot on. Well, yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see you in a couple weeks at Gym and Jam, and I
Yeah.
cannot wait to see, I'm just excited to dance and be at one of your shows again. It's
Yeah.
always such a pleasure. And I've never been to Gym and Jam, so I'm excited to go. I'm doing a little workshop there too.
Cool.
One of the days. I don't know what day yet. We don't have our
I
schedule
unfortunately am like pretty in and out.
in and out. Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be there just Friday because we bounce to Reno the next day, and I'm coming hot from Cincinnati the day before. So like,
Oh,
I,
sweet.
I wish I could hang out longer like I did last time, but
Well, I'll definitely see you on Friday then. I'll
yeah, come
make
find
sure
me.
I'll definitely find you.
If your thing's on Friday, let me know. I'll try to stop by.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I'm flying in from Long Beach and then, we're flying out on Sunday too. So we're there, but we're in and out too.
That's the way it goes.
I'm gonna try to bring some fruit leather, some just like snacks for people and the
Cool.
artists and everything. So I'll make sure I get you just some snacks.
Hell yeah. I love food. Keep
Well,
me
thank
alive.
you so much, Vincent. It's been an
Yeah.
absolute pleasure to talk to you. I hope you have a great rest of your day and hope somebody, just inspires you to keep being you because it's fucking incredible. And I'm really glad that like your unique gifts are getting shared with the world because it does help and it heals people. It heals more than you know.
Well, thank you very much for having me. Send my love to the fam and whatnot. It was great to see you. And
Absolutely.
I'll see you in a few weeks.
I will talk to you soon.
Bye.
Bye. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I am so grateful for you for being here and listening to this whole thing. That was a long one, and I didn't break it up into a couple episodes like I have been last time. So thank you so much for listening, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day, week, month, life, year, whatever, whenever you decide to listen to this. Check out everything in the show notes. If you're using Apple Podcasts, you can click on the show notes. If you're using Spotify, the links are not clickable, so jump on over to Apple Podcasts and click on all the links that are in the show notes so that you can get all of the resources from my incredible partners, as well as some discount codes from Intelligent Change for some productivity hacks. Thank you again for listening, and I hope to see you all at Gym and Jam. If you listen to the podcast and you heard this episode, please show up to my workshop and give me a little, hey, give me, say something like you're metaphysical AF, and that's how I know that you know to be there. Thanks so much. Have a good day.